I remember the reveal of this really weird video game. It had this crazy star-studded cast, Michael Rooker, Kim Basinger. I'm butchering some of these names. I can't. I got to be honest, but is it Travis Barker, Vanilla Ice, Donald Glover, Chuck Norris, Danny Trejo? I feel like if you told that list of cast for a video game to someone like 5 years ago, be like, what are you on right now? But no, there was this game called Crime Boss Rockay City, and it came out last year, and it initially came out on PC, and then it later released on next-gen consoles, which is where I played and reviewed the game last June. Oh my God, this review was published on my birthday. Wow.
Happy birthday, Crime Boss.
Now, let's to take it back a little bit. I'm not going to say what score I gave it, but to take it back, here's what I had to say about Crime Boss Rockay City. You add all that up, which is, my review, and Crime Boss Rockay City is a really tough game to recommend. It's not awful, and I think with friends there is fun to be had for a few hours, but playing solo, it's hard to even laugh at the game's shortcomings. The star-studded roster that the game so proudly advertises cannot unfortunately salvage the broken parts of this flawed first-person roguelike. If you do pick this one up, then you will be happy to know that there are both free and paid content drops on the way, and though I would be thoroughly impressed if the game is supported for the planned 3 years, Crime Boss Rockay City is available now on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series XS, and PC. You all know that. Now, since then, Crime Boss Rockay City has seen some updates. There's been some talk going around that maybe they turned things around. And so, being a fair critic, and since I was so harsh on it the first time, I decided to go back and give it another go. Now, like I said, there is free DLC as well. There's 2 free DLCs currently available. The game's also on sale for kind of this new, changeover that they've had. They've been trying their best to kind of dig into the Payday 3 market that maybe those fans that are a little bit disappointed by what's going on with that game. And after playing it for a few hours, okay, I played it for a few hours, ran a whole roguelike, campaign for as long as I lived, and experienced some of the other side content as well. And I will say there are some improvements. There are kind of gameplay stuff that feels a little bit better, that I kind of enjoyed, just kind of the shooting for a little bit. And generally, it plays like you can do. I felt a little bit cooler, I'll say, playing this one. I'll throw some clips on my Twitter or something like that for anyone who wants proof. But in general, I thought it was a little bit better. But that being said, the core gameplay of Crime Boss Rockay City, for those who don't know, the campaign is essentially you play as this up-and-coming gangster after the king of Rockay City, Florida, is taken out. And you're trying to essentially, it's a turf war. And your goal is to try to survive as long as possible, take over as much territory, take out as many other leaders as possible, kind of play chess with these people on this board, and survive for as many days as you can until you complete your tasks and, claim Rockay City for yourself, or die trying. And if you die, you get like some, obviously, your campaign ends, but you can unlock one permanent unlock that kind of carries over to the next life.
Yeah, just some permanent like little
like health buff for health buff for someone, or like boss buffs, stuff like that. And I just the campaign has so many dialogue sequences, right? And I cannot just get into it because almost none of them sound like they cared or understood like what was going on here. Like, I'm really not trying to say this in like a crazy way. It just, I feel no emotion watching it that people are invested in what's going on here. It just
That
feels like
boss of Crime Bay, Rockay City, that boss of Rockay City is surely a problem. We should probably do something about that. That kind of a thing.
yeah, I mean, and like I think Michael Rooker, who people, I hope I'm saying that right. People might recognize him as Yondu from the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. He I think probably has like the most kind of life to it, but I mean, so many of it just feels like, let's read the script, but it's my voice. So like, it's cool because it's my voice, but it's like, we're just going to read the script and get out of here. And that really muddles the experience for me. And I really don't know if like what the counterweight is. Like, would this game be better if it was unrecognizable faces, but like the people were like fully committed, like they were like, actors who were like, just I'm ready to give it my all. Would it offset, like, there is a weird aspect, almost like an uncanny valley of like, is that Chuck Norris right now in a helicopter hunting me down?
I wanted to ask, like, if not trying to be like rude, obviously, to the developers of this game, but like, do you think part of that is intentional? Like with this kind of a cast, that it's just like, does that weirdly add to the charm of Crime Boss Rockay City? Man, I can't get the words out here.
Dude, I didn't abbreviate it this time. I wrote it out too. No, I do think there is like a weird, almost like a B movie charm to it, in a way. But still, I mean, I don't even
it's
know.
It's just not enough to charm you. Like,
yeah, I mean, I'd be curious if there is someone who enjoys Crime Boss Rockay City just because it's like a B movie vibe. Then please, like, share your experience with me. I would love to get your thoughts on it. But for me, there's nothing there that really grabs me. And there is multiplayer. You can go online, play through some of the missions with friends. Scope out places and get. Steal jewelry, stuff you'd pretty much do in Payday. You can, perform heists. Is that what you do? Perform heists, I guess. But
I actually wanted to ask you about that real quick,
yeah.
Unless you had another point that you
No. Feel free to cut me off. Go ahead.
I
didn't mean that in a rude way. Feel free to go ahead, Nick. Please, go ahead and cut me off, dude.
So, the Payday comparison is something that's very interesting to me because I am a Payday fan, and I've played those games a lot. And obviously it's gonna sound really weird saying it like this, but part of why I do enjoy Payday is like it really kind of leans into the like heist fantasy kind of element where it's just like, yeah, you're sneaking around, you're it's all about getting cash and like pulling off cons and stuff like that. Whereas every time I've watched gameplay of Crime Boss, like people obviously compare the two, but it always seems like, I don't know, like they are heists, but you're not like, a heister, like playing the role, right? You're just like somebody with like an M16 going into like a bank. I don't know. Like, does that kind of play out differently in the game, or do you think that it does actually kind of fit well into like a heist vibe?
I think that the trailers and stuff that you're kind of mentioning definitely lend itself into like a more action heavy thing. And I do think that the game is, I think it's trying to intentionally kind of play up that vibe because it's not really the, like, you can definitely stealth in this game. And it's actually kind of pretty fun to stealth too. That's when it's most, when you're like, I mean, there was a moment I was playing earlier today, and there was a moment where I was essentially I had a brick, all right, and I went up this, like, I had to get into a building to get into the security room, and the security room was in the second floor. There was an adjacent building next to it, and so I went up the stairs behind it, and I saw that there was a bodyguard kind of looking, off of the building, and if I landed on that rooftop, he would have seen me. So I threw a brick, and it caught his attention, like, oh, what? And I jumped, and I Batmaned my way onto the same building as him. And then when you get close to someone, you can subdue them and kind of take them down, zip tie them, and once you zip tie them, you can like they'll stay there, or you can actually like press square and they'll follow you, and so you can lead them to like a place you want to hide them and then keep going. But I left them there, unlocked the door that was like next to it, and I went in and like continue to play the game. I'm not gonna go through the example, but it's not a play by play. But like that was fun, But it sounds cooler when I describe it than what it actually happened, because when you're playing through it, again, they're like the character, the AI for the enemies is pretty not great. Maybe I'm not playing on the right difficulty, but it's just kind of like very video gamey of like you throw it and it's like, huh? What? What's that? And then
is that a brick?
Yeah, and also like you every time you subdue someone, right? You go up behind someone and you press square, and subduing him is just pistol whipping him once, and then they kind of like what, and then they raise their hands, and then when you press square, like when you hold square, it zip ties them, and then they put their hands behind their back with a zip tie on it. Mm-hmm. And every time you do this, I play a lot as the main character, because there's like a loot bonus if you play as the main character and go into a mission. Also, I should mention, if your main character dies, like when Travis Barker dies in gameplay, that's when your run ends. But if like your goons die, it's no one cares. they're just the minions, all right?
They're expendable.
Yeah, exactly. That was the alternate name for this game actually, but it was taken unfortunately. Just like the movie Taken. But anyway, they like Travis Barker, when as I'm playing as him mostly, he's always like saying, he's like really loudly, he's like, "Get down on the ground. Put your hands behind." I was like, dude, there's people right there. Clearly, they can hear you, not even whispering, and even the guy you whip, like subdue, is usually, I'm pretty sure, it's like, what, and like making some noise, like, so stuff like that is like kind of, there's like a suspension of disbelief that you have to have in order to kind of fully experience it. But that being said, like I said, like I initially wrote, it is probably much better with friends. I just don't have any. I hire Nick on a weekly basis for the podcast so that we can pretend, on screen. And
yeah, there's no way that Sri could get me to play Crime Boss.
Yeah. I don't know if I would want you to. I don't know if I would. I don't know. Do you have interest in Crime Boss Rockay City? Well, I mean, dude, if you want to hop in and run a heist, I will absolutely do it just to see how it is.
Yeah, it's curious because, like I said, like I'm coming at it from the Payday perspective, and it's like weird, like brand loyalty, where it's like, even though like Payday 3 is kind of down in the dumps, like it's also sort of like starting its kind of comeback. It feels like with some of the new DLC that's come out recently.
Yeah,
but it's like I guess. What, like every time I watch gameplay of it, it always just feels like it's like, yes, it's that type of game, but it's not exactly giving the vibes that I like, that I want when I go to this type of game. Like I feel like music weirdly is like a really big component of it. Like in Payday, like when you're sneaking around in like the back offices of a bank and you get that like strings like that like you're like, oh yeah, like I'm sneaking around in here. And it's like every time I watch gameplay of Crime Boss, like I feel like it would fit if there's like like country music or something playing.
There is copyrighted music that plays when you're playing the game.
So is that what it mainly is? Is it like licensed stuff?
There is a lot of licensed stuff. I mean, at least like that's what it sounds like. Yeah, it constantly, there's like one song and I can't think of it now, but it's like this kind of hook that keeps playing every time you go to the main menu. It is not as explosive if you don't want to go as explosive. There's definitely builds and stuff that are more kind of like heavy tank builds that you can kind of just go in guns blazing. But there's certain jobs and certain kind of events that you can do that are like jewelry store robberies, or for example, or like a little like strip mall robbery. And these are essentially like you can approach it different ways. Obviously, you can go in guns blazing, but what I like to do, go through the back door, avoid the cameras, you can get to the security cameras, subdue, like kind of zip tie the security guard in the room, turn off the cameras, and then you can essentially. Oh, by the way, I don't know if people knew about this already, but just to kind of confirm, you can, if you pick multiple characters for a particular job and you're playing solo, you can switch between those characters. So, if there's a certain character that has like a weapon you like, or, has a characteristic that you want to kind of play with more, you can certainly do that as well. But once, like the systems are down, you can go into a building and you can then begin the heist, which will then, the AI NPC, or, whatever you want to call it, will also begin starting, looting and, grabbing valuables from the shelves. And at a certain point, there's like this ominous voice in your ear that is like your sidekick, and it's like kind of guiding you, like, okay, the cops are on the way, or like someone saw you. It's a poor choice of word, whatever, kind of like little quips to guide you along the way. And ultimately, they're like, once you get the loot that you want, a van arrives at the designated kind of exit point, and you have to get to it and go. That's really the stealth mechanics. Again, with friends, maybe like you can kind of coordinate like a two-pronged attack, and maybe that would be a little bit more satisfying. But it is very binary in terms of, I don't know if it necessarily feels like super organic moments of tension, but there are like definitely, again, with maybe I'm just receiving it a little bit better, but like I think that there's whatever they did with the tweaking the gameplay here feels a little bit better, or maybe it's in my head. I did enjoy it a little bit more this time, but it's still not enough to really be like, a game that I'll have in my rotation for a long time.